Hey there, book lovers. Welcome back to the channel. If you're looking for a thrilling new read, you're in the right place. If you're new here, please subscribe and share. Also watch the first video to understand the book. All the men of the village left the cemetery grounds and returned to their work, none of them noticing the child as he fell face down, unconscious from the overwhelming grief of his loss. Only a hand, veined and strong, reached out toward his collapsed body on the ground. That hand picked him up and carried him away. Taj climbed into her wooden carriage, the boy asleep in her arms. "Take us to the castle," she commanded the coachman. The white horse neighed loudly, then galloped forward, chasing the wind and leaving behind endless clouds of dust. "We'll take care of this boy for some time, Ababil," Taj said to her bird, which was flying near the carriage. "We'll look after him until he—" She paused. "He cannot survive without our help." Ababil let out a loud screech, and Taj replied, "I knew you'd say that." They reached the castle, where Taj took him to the second floor, into her private room. She stripped off his clothes piece by piece until he lay naked before her. She placed him on her wide bed, gazing intently at his sharp yet soft features, so reminiscent of his mother's face. When she finished her observations, Ababil, perched on the windowsill, spoke. "If not for the worm between his thighs, I would have thought he was a girl. He resembles his mother so much," Ababil added. The mention of the boy's mother stirred sorrow in Taj's heart. "The fool didn't listen to my advice," she said bitterly. "I knew this would happen to her if she went digging for the truth." Ababil couldn't discern what was going through Taj's mind at that moment. Was she plotting revenge against those who had killed her daughter, or did she have something else in mind? "What do you plan to do, my lady?" he asked. Taj sighed deeply. "I will prepare some forgetting elixir for him. This boy must forget, at least temporarily, everything he has been through." "A wise decision," Ababil agreed, recognizing the boy's need for peace. "I'm glad you agree," she replied, "but I wouldn't have listened if you'd opposed wiping his memory entirely." A silence settled between them, during which Ababil sensed that Taj had more to say but was uncertain how to express it. Having spent his life with her, from when he was a small, vibrant orange chick until now, he had learned to read her emotions. "You seem to have something else on your mind, my lady," he observed. Taj took a deep breath before admitting, "This boy is in danger, as you know. We will protect him." Ababil interrupted politely, "We will always have his back. But don't let his fragile appearance deceive you. He may seem helpless now, but one day he won't appreciate our constant presence by his side." "What are you thinking of, my lady?" Ababil pressed. "I'm thinking of the phoenix ashes," she declared firmly. "I want him to be strong. Very strong." Ababil, who rarely showed surprise, was visibly startled. "Did you say phoenix ashes?" "I want to ignite the fire within him," she said resolutely. "But what if there is no fire within him to ignite?" he countered. "I heard it burn in his heart the moment I carried him in my arms for the first time," she insisted. "Why not wait until he recovers before attempting this?" Ababil suggested. "I can't wait, Ababil. If he passes through puberty without the fire awakening, it will become impossible to ignite it later," she explained, anxiety evident in her tone. "We should be grateful that, even though he is nearing the end of his 14th year, he has not yet matured." "But he's unconscious, my lady," Ababil cautioned. "The fire could kill him if his body isn't ready." "Then I won't mourn him," she said coldly. "If he cannot become strong, he is of no use to me." Ababil knew that awakening the fire within the boy would be perilous, a sensitive, dangerous process requiring great sacrifice and effort, with no guarantee of success. Worse, it could kill him if his body couldn't withstand the power. He tried to dissuade her. His mother wouldn't have agreed to this had she been alive. Taj exploded in anger. She shouldn't have agreed from the beginning, when that foolish clay creature proposed to her. But she said she had fallen in love with him. Look where that love got her. Why was her husband absent for so long? Why didn't he protect her? Because he returned to work for the organization. Ababil, who shared all of Taj's time, knew the secret she had hidden from her daughter Jumana. She hadn't told her that the Jatham organization had threatened to kill her husband's wife and child if he didn't return to work for them. He said, "Why didn't you tell her the truth?" She deserved to know before she died that her husband's absence was to protect her and their son. Regretfully, Taj replied, "I thought I was protecting her by keeping the truth from her. I didn't want her to know he had returned to the organization against his will. I didn't want her heart to cling to him or try to help him. I wanted her to escape and start a new life. But it seems I didn't understand love at all." Taj had never cried in front of Ababil or anyone else before. It wasn't because she lacked a heart or emotions, but because she hated being seen as pitiable. This time, however, she couldn't hold back her tears as she prepared to recount the story story of Jumana and her husband Bar from many years ago. She began. The Jatham imposed a hefty tribute on the villagers. A tribute? Ecleal interjected. A large sum they were forced to pay at the start of every new year to avoid trouble with the organization. The villagers, tired of this oppression, decided one day to take a different course of action. What did they do? Ecleal asked. They decided to send a delegation of their elders to meet King Tegin of the Ababil kingdom to seek a solution. The king's palace was located on the Island of Lords, far away from any towns or villages for security reasons. It was fortified by legions of human warriors, demons, giants, and witches, making it an impenetrable stronghold. She continued, recounting how the villagers' elders, led by Sheikh Hammam, embarked on their perilous journey, first stopping at the village of the witches, where they faced an unusual and humiliating demand before proceeding to the Island of Lords. The organization of Al-Jatham, said Hammam. What about it? They confront us at the start of every new year with two choices, either to bow before their swords or die by the blade of poverty, hunger, and thirst. We spend the entire year working just to secure the tribute they demand. If this continues for much longer, it will lead to our extinction, my lord. The king, Tegin, a tyrant with soft blue eyes and a handsome face, enjoyed sitting upon his throne, observing his subjects as they stood before him, complaining about the misery of their lives. He took great pleasure in contemplating their frail and feeble appearances, as though he were an entomologist observing the behavior of an insect he had recently discovered under a microscope. You all know that our guards have long been trying to overthrow Al-Jatham, but have not succeeded yet. However, I want you to return to your village and assure the people that we will put in greater effort to defeat them. Hammam dared to step closer to the throne, taking 2 steps forward, and said in a friendly tone, rubbing his hands together like a fly, if you were to command your witches, they could capture them. Anger began to creep into the king's heart. The witches, old man, are bound to serve me alone. But, my lord, you and your people are one. What harms your people harms you. The king leaped off his throne. Do not compare me to anyone. I am a god, Hammam. The old man shrank into himself and fell silent. He was not afraid of the king's wrath, having lived a long life that no longer tempted him as it once had. What terrified him at that moment was the possibility that the king would decide not to help his village. If so, Al-Jatham would come within days, find them unable to pay the tribute, and bring ruin and destruction upon them. Please help us. Help yourselves. How? When you have forbidden us from bearing arms. That is not my concern. You are responsible for protecting your people. You are the king. Tegin, consumed with anger, shouted, I am the god who cares for you, and I am free to do as I please. Realizing the futility of his plea, Hammam fell silent for a moment before saying, we both know you are not a god. Defiantly, the king replied, beg my forgiveness, Hammam. Then, raising his voice, he declared, I am your god. You are nothing but filth, Hammam retorted before turning to leave. The king's fury boiled over at the insult. He decided to retaliate with a harsher blow. He ordered the guards to arrest all the village elders and execute them. In the expansive courtyard in front of the Ababil kingdom's palace, the executioner began beheading the village elders of Al-Jassasa one by one. When Hammam's turn came, Tegin approached him and whispered something in his ear. Then, he commanded the executioner to sever his head. Hammam's head rolled to the ground, his lifeless face frozen in a look of shock. What the king had whispered to him moments before his death was this: I cannot stand against Al-Jatham, Hammam, not because the guards of Ababil kingdom failed to capture them, as I told you earlier, but because I and Ivory Fong are one and the same. I am the leader of Al-Jatham. The following day, to quell any potential rebellion the men of Al-Jassasa village might mount in the future, King Tegin assembled a battalion of 300 heavily armed warriors from Al-Jatham. He placed them under the command of 2 of his most fearsome knights, Bar and Ayub, ordering them to lead the battalion to Al-Jassasa and kill every male inhabitant there. Time dragged heavily for the villagers, who anxiously awaited news of their elders' return from the king's palace. But a long while passed without any word. Suddenly, strange rumors began to spread, claiming that King Tegin had executed all the elders of Al-Jassasa. The village's wise men tried to dismiss these rumors, suggesting they wait a few more days to confirm the truth. However, at dawn that very day, doubt turned into certainty when a battalion of 300 warriors bearing Al-Jatham's banners launched a brutal attack on Al-Jassasa. The village men tried to defend themselves, but the battle was hopelessly hopelessly one-sided. The attackers fought with swords and spears, shielding themselves with sturdy iron armor, while the villagers' feeble wooden clubs stood no chance. Victory for Al-Jatham was inevitable, and the men of Al-Jassasa were on the brink of annihilation. But then something unexpected happened that completely shifted the course of the battle. One of the organization's knights, Ghaffran, abducted an unarmed girl who had been trying to escape the chaos. Her piercing screams caught everyone's attention. When Bar, the commander, turned and saw the terror in her almond-colored eyes, he felt a rare pang of mercy, something he had never experienced before. Ghaffran, let the girl go, Bar commanded. She is mine. I found her first, Ghaffran replied, and I will add her to my other women. The girl was Jumana. Though she could have used her special powers to escape Ghaffran's grasp, the laws of the imperial family forbade their members from revealing their abilities to humans under any circumstances. Out of respect for this law, Jumana refrained from doing anything that might expose her true nature as a Jinni.